What's going on, boys? It's your boy Jack the Ripper, coming in with a very dope story for y'all. This is gonna be a story time about the second time that I tripped on acid and somehow unintentionally did it by myself. But anyways, boys, let's get right into it. To give y'all a little bit of pretense, me and my homie Craig from the first tripping video were trying to look for some good acid. You know, we tried that first one, had a really dope time, and we're trying to have another dope time. We get to texting all our new friends waiting to see who's gonna hit us up, and our buddy Jimmy hits us up, and he says, yo, I got a buddy who can serve us. He just has to come with us. And I told him, I was like, sure, you know, why not really thinking about it. In hindsight, if I knew about Ed coming in advance, I probably would have said no. But anyways, we set up to meet at my place next week. The week's going by, I'm excited to trip again, but there was a problem. Halfway through the week, Craig told me that he had to go on a work trip and that he wasn't going to be able to trip with me. This wouldn't be such a big deal if me, Jimmy, and Kyle weren't at such a new point in our friendship. We had just started hanging out a couple months prior and we weren't super tight at that point. But fuck it, boys. We already set up plans and we're in too deep, so we went through with it. The trip day comes around and Jimmy, Kevin, and Ed pull up. You know, I say what's up to him, dab him up, start saying hi to Ed since he was a new friend. And we all got into Jimmy's car and headed out towards Ed's dude. He had a dude that was gonna serve us, so we went and dipped. It was about like a 20-minute drive. We got into the dude's place and then Ed pulls in there and, you know, he comes out like 5 minutes later, and then we dip back home, boys. After we got back home, Ed pulls out this acid, and I'll throw it up on screen right now. As you can see, there's 4 pieces, so me and Ed were planning to go half and half on this shit and trip sack. And a real quick side note, after Ed had pulled this shit out, I went to go get a drink real quick, and then I came back. That's the side note, just remember that. But anyways, me and Ed slammed these tabs and then started playing some Tech 9 just to get the vibes going. So a little while of this goes on, and then I was sitting on my bed and looking at my legs, and they kind of looked like a highway with cars just going up and down them, like up and down my knees, little red and yellow cars on these highways. But the thing was, it wasn't actually there and I wasn't seeing it. It's just my imagination was mad amplified. That's the point when I knew I was starting to trip sack. I was smiling, geeking out at my knee highways for a little while, and then, dude, it hit me. Like, my body and soul transcended 6 feet from my body, my physical body. I was laying on my bed, but I existed 6 feet above my body. I hope that makes sense. It felt really freaking weird. It sounds weird. It felt weird, guys. This is probably what was called the trip come up. I don't know for sure. I've only tripped a couple times, but dude, it was really freaking intense. Like, it just felt like I was out of my body, dude. This only happened for like a couple of minutes, and then I came back to my physical body, which sounds really weird, but I came back to my physical body, and then I started like feeling really uncomfortable, dude. Like, I think the trip come up was just too intense for me. It made my heart race, and it was just a lot at once. It was super overwhelming. So I looked over at Jimmy, because he was probably the closest guy I knew in the room, like, in terms of friendship. And I was like, dude, am I going to have to go to the hospital? And he's like, what? No, dude, you're fine. And this made me feel a little bit better, no lie. But I was still tripping sack, guys. It was undeniable. So in turn of me feeling all these intense, like, tripping ideas and, like, kind of feeling visual somewhat, I was like, man, I should ask Ed how he's feeling. And I was like, yo, Ed, are you starting to feel anything? He goes, nah, dude, I'm not feeling anything. He's like, are you feeling something? I was like, yeah, dude, I am tripping. I kid you not. He turns to Kevin and goes, fuck. I was like, what's wrong, dude? Did you, like, get some bad acid or something? Or, like, what happened? He was like, no, fucking Kevin spilt water all over half of it, and we gave you the good half. Now, this was news to me, boys. I was not expecting at all to trip alone, let alone with like new people that I barely even knew. But I signed up and I had to stick to it. A couple hours later, and I was still tripping absolute sack, dude. Like, it did not stop, it didn't let up, it was just amplifying and getting more and more intense. But I went to go get a snack in my kitchen, and as I was walking back, I blinked, and then, dude, out of nowhere, my whole vision got covered by, like, these neon diagonal blue lines, and it crisscrossed with neon red bars. It looked super weird. And like, I blinked once and it was still there, and then I blinked again and it went away. I was like, dang, dude. And this kept on happening like throughout the night a couple of times. Let me know if y'all ever get that. I don't know what it's called, but it like covered my whole eyes, dude, for like a couple of seconds there. After the whole like red and blue lens over my eyes, I went in my room and kind of told my friends about it. And my room was set up where I had these LED lights like going up from the floor and then over the top of the room. So it shined all over the room pretty much. But my buddy Kevin was wearing like one of those safety green shirts, and there was like blue light on him, dude. And I was looking over at him, and he kind of just turned into Radioactive Puddy, dude. I had to tell him, I was like, dude, you look like Radioactive Puddy right now. He's like, what? And me, him, and Jimmy just started dying. He's like, what? How do I look like it? I was like, dude, it looked like rolls were just like going down his body. Like, almost like a slime or like a muck from like Pokemon, if you've ever seen one of those. At this point, I was starting to have more of like a good trip. Like the first initial like come up was super intense and a little uncomfortable, but after like 4 hours of tripping, I was starting to get a little bit somewhat comfortable. It was still feeling weird, but I wouldn't say it was like a bad trip overall, really. It was just all the events that led out that really didn't make the night go so well, but we'll get to that. Anyways, Ed was starting to get a little bit bored since he didn't end up tripping. And I wouldn't recommend this because you're not supposed to like drink with other, substances, but he was doing it anyways. He just ended up drinking a couple of drinks, dude, and I guess it wasn't sitting well with him after a while. And I mean, this dude, he was seeming sauce, guys. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when all this stuff's about to go down, he was definitely sauced. But guys, he said, oh, I don't feel well, and ran out of the room. And like, he tried to go out my front door, and there was like one of those screen doors in front of it, and he couldn't make it in time. So dude just threw up all over my screen door and went all over my front porch, dude. Oh my God, it was terrible, guys. Of course, my mom heard the racket and came out there and was asking like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, why is he throwing up? And I was like, I don't know. I couldn't explain it, dude. I was just like tripping way too hard. And I believe Jimmy was like trying to say sorry for his friend and stuff because Ed was just out for the count, dude. He was fucked up. But yeah, guys, my mom was not letting this slide. She straight up told everybody to go home. And it was kind of messed up. She ended up telling the boys to go home, which I was like, no, dude, I cannot be tripping by myself here. And she ended up making me do chores too, which was pretty lame, not gonna lie. And I felt bad for the boys, dude. Ed was definitely down for the count. He was just sitting outside of Kevin's car, and Kevin was pretty saucy, and Jimmy, I think he only smoked, so he ended up driving them over to Kevin's place. But dude, it was not very cool on my mom's behalf, no lie. So I kind of had to chill out in my room. By then it was probably like hour 7 or like 6. And I was still tripping, but not so intensely. It was starting to die down a little bit, but dude, I had to like just chill out, and I think I ended up just listening to music. And eventually she came up to me and was like, hey, you trying to smoke? Because I think she felt bad for it. We smoked this bowl, and she looked at me and she was like, are you still tripping? And I looked at the bowl, and this bowl had like a bunch of little specks on it and stuff, and they were all dancing around, and I was like, mm-hmm. And as I was ripping this, I ripped it once, and I was like, okay, I think I'm good. Like, I'm not trying to, rekindle this trip here. Yeah, guys, at like the 8-hour mark, I was chilling in my room, and my sister came in there, and she was asking how like everything had went. And I was explaining it to her while I was in the chair, and I was looking over at my Arizona tea wall. I used to have this big Arizona tea wall with like over 100 Arizona teas. And I was looking at that, and my depth perception felt really weird, dude. It felt like I was a stadium, like a football stadium away from this Arizona tea wall, even though it was like 3 feet away from me. Super wacky, dude. But yeah, it ended up dying off after I like took a couple of naps. You know, I couldn't slump out from the night before, and I was like up all night at this point. So I took a couple of naps and it wore off. But other than that, that's pretty much the end of it, boys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. It was really fun to go down memory lane, and this was a really like intense trip. And if you were to ask me if I had a good trip or not, I would say it's a mixed bag, guys. There's highs and lows, and honestly, overall, it was a pretty good trip mentally. But a lot of bad things situationally went down. So if I didn't have my friends kicked out and, you know, wasn't tripping alone and wasn't tripping with like new friends and stuff, it probably would have went really well. But, you know, circumstances didn't come out that way. But we made the most of it, boys. I hope y'all enjoy it. If you do, maybe toss a little likey like, you know, it was super fun to make. And the more likes I get, the more content I make. So I will catch y'all in the next one, though, boys. Peace.